The diner was a small, unassuming place tucked between a laundromat and a pawn shop on the edge of a struggling neighborhood. It was the kind of place where the coffee was always a little too bitter. The vinyl booths were cracked, and the air smelled faintly of grease and nostalgia. For a 27-year-old Tasha Johnson, it was home. She had been working there for 6 years, ever since she dropped out of community college to take care of her ailing mother. The job paid barely enough to keep the lights on, but Tasha was grateful for it. She had learned to find joy in the small things. The regulars who called her sweetheart, the occasional generous tip, and the quiet moments before the breakfast rush when she could sip her coffee and watch the sunrise. But today was not one of those days. It started like any other shift. Tasha arrived at 5:30 a.m., tied her apron around her waist, and began setting up the tables. By 7 a.m., the diner was buzzing with the usual crowd. Construction workers grabbing a quick bite before their shifts, elderly couples sharing the morning paper, and a few solo diners lost in their thoughts. Tasha moved through the chaos with practiced ease, balancing trays of food and refilling coffee cups with a smile that never quite reached her eyes. Then they walked in, a group of 4 well-dressed women, their designer handbags swinging from their arms, their laughter sharp and loud. They looked out of place in the modest diner, and Tasha felt a pang of anxiety as she approached their table. She recognized the type, wealthy, entitled, and quick to judge. She took a deep breath and plastered on her brightest smile. "Good morning, ladies. Welcome to Rosie's. Can I start you off with some coffee?" The women barely glanced at her. One of them, a blonde with perfectly manicured nails, waved her hand dismissively. "We'll all have lattes. Skim milk, no sugar. And make sure the cups are clean. This place looks questionable." Tasha forced herself to keep smiling. "Of course. I'll be right back with those." As she turned to leave, she heard one of the women mutter, "I don't know why we had to come here. The service is probably as bad as the decor." Tasha's cheeks burned, but she kept walking. She had dealt with difficult customers before. She could handle this. The women's orders were complicated, substitutions, special requests, and endless complaints. The lattes weren't frothy enough. The eggs were too runny. The toast was too dry. Tasha did her best to accommodate them, but nothing she did was good enough. By the time they finished their meal, she was exhausted and humiliated. "Here's your check," she said, placing the bill on the table. "I hope you enjoyed your meal." The blonde woman picked up the check and glanced at it. Then she looked up at Tasha with a cold smile. "You know, you really should consider finding a new job. You're not very good at this one." Tasha felt like she'd been slapped. She opened her mouth to respond, but no words came out. The women laughed as they gathered their things and walked out, leaving a measly $5 tip on a $75 bill. Tasha stared at the money, her vision blurring with tears. She felt worthless, invisible. She wanted to scream, to cry, to quit on the spot, but she couldn't. She needed this job. She needed the money. So she took a deep breath, wiped her eyes, and went back to work. The rest of the day passed in a blur. Tasha moved through her tasks mechanically, her mind replaying the women's cruel words over and over. By the time her shift ended at 3 p.m., she was emotionally drained. She grabbed her coat and headed for the door, eager to escape. "Tasha, wait." She turned to see her manager, Carl, hurrying toward her. He was holding an envelope in his hand. "What's this?" she asked, taking the envelope. "Some guy came in earlier and asked me to give this to you," Carl said. "He said it was important." Tasha frowned. "Who was it?" Carl shrugged. "I don't know. He didn't leave his name. He just said you'd know what to do with it." Curious, Tasha opened the envelope. Inside was a folded piece of paper and a check. She unfolded the paper first and began to read. "Dear Tasha, asterisk, I was sitting in the corner booth this morning, and I couldn't help but notice how you were treated by those women. I want you to know that their words do not define you. You are strong, kind, and deserving of so much more than the hand you've been dealt. Asterisk, asterisk, I don't know your story. but I can see the weight you carry. Please accept this gift as a small token of my appreciation for your hard work and resilience. Use it to chase your dreams, whatever they may be, asterisk with respect and admiration. A stranger Tasha's hands trembled as she looked at the check. It was for $50,000. She gasped, her knees buckling beneath her. Carl caught her arm, steadying her. Tasha, are you okay? What is it? She couldn't speak. She just held out the check, her mind racing. Who would do this? Why? It didn't make sense. Carl's eyes widened as he saw the amount. Holy, Tasha, this is life-changing. Tasha nodded, tears streaming down her face. For the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, things could get better. Over the next few weeks, Tasha used the money to make changes in her life. She paid off her mother's medical bills, enrolled in online classes to finish her degree, and even put a down payment on a small house. She still worked at the diner, but now it was by choice, not necessity. She had a newfound confidence, a belief that she was worthy of more. And then one day, the stranger returned. He was an older man with kind eyes and a gentle smile. He sat in the same corner booth where he had watched her that fateful morning. Tasha recognized him immediately. Her heart raced as she approached his table. "Can I get you something?" she asked, her voice shaking. He looked up at her and smiled. "Just coffee, please. And maybe a moment of your time, if you're not too busy." Tasha nodded and hurried to get his coffee. When she returned, she sat down across from him, her hands clasped tightly in her lap. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely above a whisper, "for everything. You have no idea what that money meant to me." The man shook his head. "You don't need to thank me. I just wanted to help. You reminded me of someone I used to know, someone who never got the chance to chase her dreams. I couldn't let that happen to you." Tasha's eyes filled with tears. Who was she? The man hesitated, then sighed. "My daughter. She was a waitress too. She worked hard, just like you. But life was cruel to her, and she never got the break she deserved. When I saw you that day, I saw her, and I knew I had to do something." Tasha reached across the table and took his hand. "I'm so sorry, but thank you. You've given me a second chance, and I promise I won't waste it." The man smiled, his eyes glistening. "I know you won't, and that's all the thanks I need." From that day on, Tasha made it her mission to pay the kindness forward. She started a scholarship fund for single mothers trying to finish their education, and she volunteered at a local shelter, helping others who were struggling just as she had. She never forgot the stranger who changed her life, and she vowed to honor his gift by making a difference in the world. And so, the poor black waitress who had once been humiliated became a beacon of hope and inspiration, proving that even in the darkest moments, a single act of kindness can change everything.